If you believe a community is strongest when truth is in the open, drop your city or country in the comments. This story begins on a drizzly morning, when a blue recycling bin rattled across wet concrete and one man had to choose between quiet endurance or standing up with all the calm he had. Asterisk. Seaford, Oregon. Saturday. A pale ash-grey morning. Far-off surf muttered like a giant, turning over in sleep. At the harbor crest, bayside condos, white railings hung heavy with rain. The sea air carried salt and the damp resin of last night's rain in the pines. Noah Adayami rolled the blue recycling bin to the edge of his driveway. His grey hoodie darkened at the shoulders. Rain peppered his joggers like fine dust. He glanced at the first-floor window. Maya leaned against a pillow, one hand on her belly. Her eyes asked, "All good?" Noah dipped his chin, palming the air. Inside, door closed. The late nausea had been tough, and weather like this made it worse. Footsteps clicked over the tiled common path. 3 figures appeared at the end of the row. The woman in the middle held a black umbrella, a tan trench clinging to her, a neat bob of dark blonde hair, and eyes that swung like twin blades. Flanking her stood 2 men in black vests stitched with crooked white letters. Harbor security stray threads fraying along the edge. A tin badge swung, bent out of shape. Lorraine Pike smiled the smile of someone used to calling something for the common good. "Mr. Adayami," she said, projecting just enough for neighbors to hear, "we've received numerous complaints. Unauthorized repairs, late-night gatherings, parking violations. The board needs to address this with you. Right now." Noah kept a hand on the bin lid. "Ms. Pike, if you want to talk, the monthly meeting is on the calendar." "I can know." The man on her right chopped the word short. Cole Mercer. Square shoulders, compact build, roped tendons at the wrist. The vest hung on him like something borrowed. His breath carried metal and stale smoke. A hard, long outline bulged in his right pocket. The other Rian Soto was younger, lean, looking everywhere too much. "We should review the steps, Lorraine," he whispered, as if reminding himself. Lorraine's eyes skimmed him, a featherlight glance with crushing weight. Rian, shut up. Noah looked down at his rain-speckled shoes. Reflections made details snap into clarity. The crooked stitching, the badge with no number, an empty utility belt. His thumb grazed his watch. One quick swipe started recording. Behind the window, Maya shifted. He flicked his hand again. "Stay inside." "Steps?" Noah echoed Rian. "What steps allow community security to detain a resident on private property? Which section? What statute?" Lorraine tipped her face up. Rain drew hairline tracks through her makeup. "Don't play cute, Mr. Adayami. This is governance. At Harbor Crest, order comes first." The weather changed inside the walkway. On the 3rd-floor balcony, a curtain slid open. Across the way, an elderly woman poked her head out, worried eyes. A teen in a yellow plastic rain jacket crept from the stairwell. "Phone up." Zoe Kim, 17, from Unit to B. "Hi, Bun." Bright, watchful eyes. She raised the phone. Liv bloomed on screen as comments trickled like lights. "Seaford's wet, but the drama's hot. What's happening?" "Record it, girl." Noah drew a fuller breath of salt air. "I'm ready to talk," he said, voice even. "And I'm asking you to identify yourselves, show ID, and cite legal authority. Otherwise, this stops here." Cole chuckled, a hacksaw on metal. He ripped a pair of cuffs from his belt, snapped them open with a dry metallic pop. 15 seconds, friend, he said. Eyes locked on Noah. "Don't make me use my hands." Noah kept his palm on the bin. "Maya, the de-escalation classes he used to teach, hold space. Fix your position. Ask for clear grounds. Force the other side to say the law." He looked straight into Zoe's lens as if into thousands of eyes. "If you're legitimate security, show legitimate paperwork," he said, loud enough. "If not, this is harassment." Lorraine's smile sharpened. Rain stippled the rim of her umbrella. "You've put yourself in a corner, Noah." She lingered on his name like an intimacy. 50 complaints. Good neighbors don't make people feel unsafe. Zoe zoomed in. Viewers leaped from 87 to 430. Who is she? That badge is crooked, lol. Call PD. Don't let them in the house. Noah heard Maya brush the doorframe. He didn't look back, calmly calling 911 so they can listen. 2 taps on his watch patched in the emergency line. Cole clenched his jaw. The cuffs jittered like a snake. Don't need PD, he spat, stepping closer. Rian tugged at Cole's sleeve, whispering, "Wait for Lorraine's signal." Cole shook him off. "We have ample authority," Lorraine said, as if her word descended like a permit from the sky. "You're dragging down the complex, bringing habits from elsewhere. 2 words hit like stones dropped in water. The surface didn't break, only rippled deep. Noah held Lorraine's gaze. "Elsewhere, where?" he asked, tone flat. Lorraine didn't answer. Her mouth tilted. Rain veiled her eyes. Zoe panned to the growing audience. 591,200. Comments. Racist dog whistles much. Where's the paperwork? Keep filming. A fine tremor touched Noah's fingers. Not fear, adrenaline. He breathed. Chest open. Release. Cole lifted the cuffs to chest height. Patience gone. Hands behind your back. Noah slid a half step, using the recycling bin as a barrier. The rain made a curtain, but didn't blur what mattered. "No," he said. "Not unless you show ID, read me my rights, and state a lawful charge." A whisper rustled balconies. The door at 1D cracked open. The elderly woman panted, cat in arms. Maya stood behind the curtain, eyes wide, one hand on her belly, the other on her phone. "Count," Cole said, mouth skewed. 15, 14, 13. "Don't," Rian breathed. "Cole, hold," she said, just 12. Lorraine said nothing. She angled her umbrella, angling her view like a patron at a prize fight. She'd arranged. Zoe edged back, camera shaking. 1,900, 2,600, 4,100. She heard her own breath. "People are watching," she said. "Don't be stupid." She didn't know who she meant. Noah set his right hand on the bin's rim. If he didn't break this down, Cole would manufacture a resistance to justify force. "Rian," he said, eyes never leaving Cole, "you have a full Namand, it'll ride with this clip." "You know this is illegal," Rian swallowed. His eyes darted to Zoe, then to the cuffs, then to Cole's pocketwear, the hard outlines smeared darker under wet fabric. He inhaled to speak, choked it off. "We were supposed to warn him." Cole flicked his toe under the bin and kicked. It rolled aside, cans and old paper clattering over concrete. Cole closed in, wrist lashing like a hook. Noah moved half a step. A small pivot, forearm up to catch the line of attack, right hand closing on Cole's thumb joint. No strength needed, just the right angle. The cuffs popped free, skittering across slick concrete toward the drain. Noah didn't strike. He folded Cole's wrist toward his chest, dropped his own center of gravity, and rotated Cole's shoulder into an unavoidable kneel. Cole growled. The hard shape in his pocket slid free and hit the ground with a flat clack. A handgun, heavy, black, naked. On the wet concrete, the world's sound dimmed, as if someone pulled a filter. The rain on the barrel was the only noise. Zoe screamed, "Oh my God, it's a gun. It's real." Viewers vaulted. 8,200. 12,000. 19,000. Noah stepped back, shoe nudging the weapon, sending it skating into the concrete recess under the stairs. He didn't track it. His body remembered, neutralized without antagonizing. He eased Cole down, kneeling on the upper arm, cuffed him with the same cold steel. "Weapon safe. Suspect restrained," he said. Voice in report, cadence. "No one approach." Lorraine lunged and slipped on the wet walkway. She bit her lip, ready to shriek. Then the balconies won out. "Call the police." "Real gun." "Don't touch the weapon." Rian froze, then raised both hands slowly. "I didn't know about that," he stammered. "I didn't." He looked into Zoe's camera. "You're live, right? Please record me saying this." Zoe gripped her phone tighter. 25,000, 36,000, 51,000. The comments cut through rain tag at Seaford PD. Who's the blonde woman? Don't cut the stream. Noah kept Cole pinned. He stood, lifted both palms, opened his chest to Zoe, to the half-hidden faces, to every eye through the glass screen. My name is Noah Adayami, he said, crisp and steady. I'm a cybersecurity engineer and a volunteer de-escalation trainer with Seaford PD's community program. I did not initiate force. I neutralized an unlawful threat. He pulled a slim wallet from his back pocket and opened a laminated credential for the PDS Neighborhood Partnership Program. The Seaford PD logo embossed, ink signature fresh. I'm inviting Seaford PD to the scene. Lorraine laughed, dry and tinny. You think a volunteer credential is a badge to stand above the law? Her voice pitched high, composure slipping. He used force on my people. Do you see? This is violence. Violence, muttered the elderly woman at 1D, is coming to a home with a gun. A few heads nodded. The balance shifted in the air. Zoe framed, Lorraine, she tried to duck. The rain didn't. It streaked her mascara into dark tracks. 67,000, 89,000. A blue check comment, Seaford PD en route. Another OR law says private citizens can't detain like that unless... Yes, unlawful restraint. Sirens sang thin and sharp through the mist. A red-blue fan slashed the grey. Heads leaned over railings. Phones rose. Under Noah's knee, Cole's anger collapsed into jerky sobs. I just, she said. I Noah didn't bend to soothe. His voice gentled all the same. You need help. And you'll be accountable. Those two things aren't opposites. Lorraine spun on Rianne. Don't say a word. Not one. She backed up. Pan found the path behind her quietly blocked. The parking lot attendant in an oil-freckled raincoat and a young couple hand in hand. They didn't touch her. They just stood there, reminder that exits aren't guaranteed. A cruiser fishtailed to a stop, lights painting the puddles. Two officers stepped out, Lopez stole unhurried, Patel compact, precise. They took in the scene in 3 breaths. A restrained man, a weapon at a distance, an agitated power figure, a young man with his hands up. Zoe's live stayed steady. Everything was on record. Nobody move, Lopez said. Hands open, but ready. Patel angled toward the gun, bagged it, glanced at the serial number. Who touched the weapon? She asked. Noah Adayami, Noah answered, rotating his wrists forward. I kicked it out of reach. No other contact. He tapped his watch, recording from the start. Livestream 2. Lopez nodded at Zoe. Keep that steady, kid. You're doing fine, Zoe nodded, shivering with cold and importance. Lorraine thrust her chin. Finally, you'll deal with us, the board, not your name. Lopez asked, voice even. And your lawful authority to be here this morning? She blinked. Lorraine Pike, president of the Harbor Crest Board. Elected by residents to bring an unregistered weapon and threaten detention of a resident on his own property. Patel cut in, still courteous, still scanning. Do you have a state license for an armed security force? Staff roster. Employment contracts. Lorraine pressed her lips. There. Volunteers. Lopez wrote. He looked at Cole, named Cole Mercer. The name scraped out. I have a permit, Chuno, I. Every syllable sank into soft sand. And you? Patel to Rion Soto, he said, drawing a breath like a decision. I'll cooperate. I never wanted this. I have messages, screenshots. She hired us through a gig, app anonymous. Promised to clear debts. Said it was just warnings. But then he gulped. I'll tell you everything. For a beat, Zoe went still. She tightened the frame on Rion. 210,000, 300,000. A hashtag bloomed in the corner. Hashtag HarborCrest. Truth. Patel looked to Lopez. He nodded. Rianne Soto, he said. You're going in the car. We'll Mirandize you. You'll tell it all. Cole Mercer. You're under arrest for unlawful possession of a firearm, menacing, and conspiracy to restrain, Ms. Pike. You're detained on suspicion of conspiracy, harassment, and impersonating authority. Lorraine's mouth opened, then closed. Wind flipped her coat hem, her umbrella bowed. "You'll regret this," she hissed. But the hiss drowned under a small clap. Hesitant, then joined. The lady in 1D started it, then a boy on the second-floor walkway, then a couple at the far corner. It wasn't thunderous. It sounded like rain on old wood, steady, real. Noah loosened his shoulders slowly. He searched the window. Maya was no longer there. His heart pinched, then the door opened, and she stepped out in an oversized coat. Hand braced at her back, a trembling smile like a tiny hill. Patel reached her first hand light on her arm. "Let's keep you dry," she said. "I get it. Just a minute more." Maya touched Noah's sleeve. "Over?" she asked. "No," Noah said, "but the start is over." News traveled the way salt does on a sunny day. That afternoon, Zoe's clip trended in Seaford, then statewide. Short edits surfaced, the gun hitting concrete. The old woman's line. The cuffs on the wrist they were meant for. Comments split into rock and spray. One thing cut through obvious tells of a fake authority. Harbour Crest went quiet for a day. The kind of quiet where you hear shoes in the hallway and cable hum in the elevator. Days later, the local paper ran Harbour Crest Board under investigation. A short segment tallied fuzzy expenses. Temporary security services with no invoice. Emergency management fees with no resolution. Noah tried to live normally. Morning coffee for Maya. Reminders for midday remote work, tracking a retirement scam. Afternoon breathing drills, joint rotations. Nightly door checks, an old habit, made relevant again. Oddly, the doorknob's cool metal kept snapping him to the memory of Cole's cold, jerking hand in the rain. Pity and caution braided like two thin cords. Zoe, once the neighbor who streamed Sunday Noodles, found herself fielding questions. Reporters a local station asked for her take. She laughed on stream, scratching at her bun. "I just held my phone," but something new glowed behind her eyes. She began reading about civil rights, data preservation, whistleblower protections. At night, she texted Maya, "Can I do a short with you?" The inside but stayed inside perspective, Maya replied, laughing, "I'll talk about ginger tea for nausea." Both knew ginger tea was a shell for something else. Voice, Rion surfaced behind the curtain, on and off. He met with Lopez and Patel 3 times, each longer than the last. He brought messages, transaction logs, an email address, photos of loose bills he'd been told to sign off on. "I thought it was easy money," he said. Eyes hollow with lost sleep. "Told my mum I was doing dock shifts." Lopez didn't scold. He wrote and occasionally lifted his gaze to remind the kid to drink water. Patel flicked her pen. Reviewing what would raise charges and what could mitigate. Cole kept quiet except for one short burst. He punched his cell wall with wrapped knuckles, then cried like a The guard said nothing, handed him a towel. When the sobbing burned out, he slumped. "I thought it'd be quick," he muttered. "I didn't mean sentences that start with, I didn't mean don't spare anyone from consequences. They only spare us from lying to ourselves." Lorraine hired counsel. She rebuilt the narrative, protecting standards. She rationalized the money. Temporary solutions for decline. She called old friends, real estate colleagues, a few boutique owners. They hesitated. No one loves standing beside a trending hashtag. She stopped sleeping. Coffee, then wine. Wine, then coffee. Some nights, she stared into the mirror, trying to fix a mascara smear that felt permanent. And the community? It did what communities should, it asked. Meetings sprouted in the ground floor room. A list titled, Need to Know, went up on the corkboard. Budget, complaint handling, security protocols. A Mexican-American woman, Elena Vargas, spoke little and noted much. She never looked for cameras, but when she spoke, her voice was sure. "Information is light," she wrote on the whiteboard in blue marker. "Let's turn it on." Noah sat in back. He didn't want to be the main face in the place he slept. When asked for input, he said, 2 things, independent oversight on every process, and decisions stored in retrievable writing. Heads nodded. Elena wrote, independent oversight, who, how, Day 17, an email landed in multiple inboxes. The county DA charges filed: organized harassment, conspiracy, impersonating authority, unlawful possession of a firearm, attempted unlawful restraint, embezzlement of association funds. Lorraine's name appeared, with Cole and a person A who authorized transfers, name sealed. Rian wasn't listed. A note at the bottom: cooperating witness. Zoe went live, voice small but clear. Some of you want a dunk reel. She gave a soft laugh. But if even one of us spent less time dunking and more time reading our HOA rules, this might not have gone so far. The stream didn't spike like day one, but it flowed. She talked about Alina, about residents learning to read line items, about hiring a third party to manage funds, about a non-board emergency line that dials PD directly. It wasn't spicy. It was like rock salt scattered across a slick path so you could walk without fear of falling. The biggest meeting since Harbourcrest was built took place on a Thursday night. The community room brimmed. No party smell, no wine, just whiteboard ink, damp coats on chairs. Alina stood at the front in a moss green sweater, hair tied low. Beside her, council hired with pooled resident funds. Below, Noah, Maya, Zoe, the 1D grandmother, the parking attendant, and 70 faces more. Alina said, "We need an interim board for 60 days. With clear commitments, publish books monthly, standardize complaint handling, number security outside PD, set up an anonymous feedback channel." She listed. With each item, pens scratched paper, murmurs rose and fell like tide. A hand went up. The photo lab owner on the corner, silver hair, husky voice. "I don't want Harbourcrest in the news anymore," he said. "Don't want our name attached to drama," Alina nodded. "Me either. The only way to stay off the news is to do things right daily, so regularly that it becomes ordinary." Maya smiled softly, someone who had learned to cherish the word ordinary. 7 months in, the baby nudged when people clapped, as if responding to the neighborhood's pulse. In the last row, a stranger sat at an angle cap low. Noah caught a jawline, didn't place IT till the break. When the man stood past Noah, paused. Cole, no fake vest. Wraps on his hand, not from wall punching now, but from PT orders. He bowed his head. He started, stopped. Noah nodded back. Not forgiveness, not condemnation. Just an acknowledgement that the man was standing on this side of a line today. Cole tipped his chin toward Alina. "She asked me to sit in. Said I should know what people do after." After that day, he laughed at himself. Don't call it payback, but I don't want to break anything else." Noah weighed it. "There's a crew for hands-on work. Bulbs, sprinklers, storage," he said. "But PD has to run your name. And no one's handing you keys to an armory, because we don't have an armory." Cole barked a laugh reel. This time, "Thanks." He tapped his wraps and drifted out. Zoe came over. "Can I roll a closer for tonight's clip?" she asked. On the interim board vote, Noah looked into the lens. It had been a long time since he spoke to a camera not covered in network maps, log files, or query prompts. "Tell them," he said, "there are no heroes here. There are people who learn to breathe before they speak, and people who learn to listen before they decide. And you." Zoe turned to Maya. "What do you want to say to folks who feel scared? Scared to hit record because they'll get hated. Scared to say no to someone with authority." Maya touched her belly. "Being scared is normal," she said. "Normal isn't destiny." I was terrified that rainy day. I stayed where it was safe, because Noah and I had a signal we agreed on before. She looked at Noah, then Zoe. "If you're scared, prepare. Prepare small things, emergency numbers, a home signal, a neighbor you trust. And if you can, raise your phone. Light doesn't hurt anyone." Zoe nodded, eyes bright. The night's clip didn't explode. It warmed. The preliminary hearing arrived. Lorraine wore navy, a composed face, like a careful masked everything. A grand misunderstanding. Her attorney said, "Pressure, context, misread." The prosecutor presented transaction dates, emails, recorded audio from Rian's phone. The snippet where Lorraine said, "No one crosses the board, not where I run it," in the clip. Her voice was warmer, more confident, someone enjoying power. Statement. The judge asked. Lorraine scanned the room. Her eyes paused half a second at Noah and Maya's row. "I was wrong to let an obsession with order blind me," she said. "A beat. But I also see a wave-hair crowd that prefers humiliation to repair." She exhaled. "I hope the community remembers I kept this place clean and safe." No applause. No boos. Silence answered. The judge didn't editorialize, he set conditions. Home confinement with electronic monitoring pending trial. No contact with witnesses. Headlines read flatly. Lorraine Pike indicted released on monitored bond. It satisfied no one. But law isn't built to satisfy. It's built to stop the strong from steamrolling the weak by whim. At Harbour Crest, Alina and the interim board started housekeeping. A new site, monthly finances, open calendars, a shared inbox for complaints autologged, a class. Noah taught 3 de-escalation moves for residents. Rianne lingered in the corner, silent, stacking chairs. Cole rehung dead hallway lights, straightened exit signs, greeted people with a nod. Zoe learned like a surfer, catching the rhythm. She posted shorts. How to file a complaint that gets processed. What you can ask your board for, when to call PD. No drama. But, on rainy days, people walked slower and said, "Thanks." Maya counted weeks. Every checkup was a new note in a growing song. One night, while Noah reviewed the doorbell camera, Maya called softly, "Kick." He placed his hand on her belly. A small tap, like a finger, on water. He didn't cry, he rarely cried, but his throat tightened, and he had to swallow twice. "Are you scared?" Maya asked. Question and answer already known. They asked anyway to soothe. "Yes," Noah said. "But you have me." "I have you. And we have Zoe, the 1D grandma, Alina, and a bunch of others." He looked at the wall list. Weekend volunteers. The best handwriting belonged to a kid. "I'll bring cookies." Harbour Crest's first cultural night bloomed under a rare October sun. Tarps on the green between buildings. Empanadas, too hot to hold. Sugar-dusted cookies. Curry perfume. A small table read. Know Your Rules corner-free Q&A. Alina stood at the end, smiling more than usual. Lopez and Patel dropped by out of uniform, bought pastries for their kids, and waved at Zoe like a not-official colleague. Zoe held a toy mic. Live on low volume. She didn't want the whole world, just the ones who cared. "If you're watching," she said, "drop your city. And one thing you want to change where you live." Comments trickled like a clear stream. "Portland start on time. Sailor monthly newsletter please. Da Nang proper recycling signs." Maya sat on a folding chair, one hand on her belly, the other on lemonade. Noah stood beside her, hands behind his back, palms loose. Kids tore past. One in a blue life jacket bumped his knee, peered up. "Sorry," Mr. Noah tousled his hair. Surprised how natural it felt to be the gentle uncle at a block party. Alina tapped a spoon on a paper cup. "A few words," she said. "We've moved from fear to conversation, from conversation to codified process, and from process to ordinary. Today has no hero, just ballots, procedures, and properly baked pastries." Laughter rolled. "But if I name one thing, it's light. Not light in someone's face to shame them. Light on the table, so anyone can read in time." Zoe lifted the mic. "Anyone want to add?" Noah raised a hand. "One thing," he said. "When the water chops up, remember how to breathe. Breathing keeps you from firing back with instinct and lets you answer with a mind." Applause. Louder this time. Not noisy. Like steady surf on a wide beach, no longer crashing against a HEL land. At the edge of the green, Cole stood with hands in pockets, watching kids chase a ball. Rianne helped Zoe coil mic cables. Lorraine wasn't there. She waited for trial, attorney by her side, rehearsed defenses worn smooth like pebbles. Maybe she'd get probation. Maybe not. Either way, her name had become a footnote in a larger story. When a community flips the switch, shadows retreat. Before sunset, a cool brine drifted in. Maya stood, then paused. A light Braxton Hicks tightened her belly. She squeezed Noah's hand. He understood, immediately, eased her down, passed her water, asked Alina for a thin blanket. Zoe killed the Liv and hurried over. "I'm fine," Maya smiled, sweat beading her brow. "Baby's just telling me not to eat more empanadas." Everyone exhaled together. Laughter spread warmer than any blanket. Night fell. Apartment windows glowed amber. In 1D, the grandmother set a new plant on the Scylla baby red maple. On Noah and Maya's fridge, a sheet of paper, Emergency Plan V 2.0. They'd added new names: Alina, Zoe, the parking attendant. Below, PD Hospital, a taxi they trusted. Noah killed the living room lights. He stood at the window and watched the babylak and calm. The sea felt like an adult keeping the house quiet so a child could sleep. He thought about the rainy morning, the cuffs snapping open, the clack of metal on concrete. He pictured a different branch where he lost his temper and everything shattered another way. He shivered. Then he thought of this branch. The baby resting. Ballots readied. Zoe's explainers on reading line items. Pictures locked together like Lego until they formed something. A flawed community with a map. Maya peeked from the bedroom. "What are you doing?" "Listening to the water," he said. "What's it say?" "That it doesn't bow," he said. "It doesn't hide wind, and it doesn't keep storms forever. It just receives and returns. It steadies itself by its own rhythm." Maya smiled and leaned her head on his shoulder. "Philosopher, huh?" Then, soft as a gift, "I don't bow either." They stood there until the timer chimed. Noah kissed her forehead and guided her back. Before he shut the door, he glanced once more at the bay. The wind was gentle. Even if it turned tomorrow, they'd learned how to trim their sails. Asterisk power isn't a hammer to beat on other people's fear. Power is a lamp on the table so everyone can read. When we choose truth and process, the noise settles and a community stands upright, like the sea, unbowed.